TB Joshua led 4 boys. They pee inside his mouth.
If I'm not given the spiritual gift to operate, what I've been going through in the past is enough to send me packed. Look at the apostle in the Bible. I look at the trial and temptation they went through. And I now begin to compare myself to, I see that, history will tell about my trial and persecution. The most persecuted pastor. Not only that, there's nothing I have not gone through. So there's need for you to know your calling. Your calling is your gift, spiritual gift. If you don't know your calling and you are operating whatever you become, it does not take these people a second to bring you down.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Plan B TV News. A lot is going on out there and we are here to give you the latest updates about Prophet TB Joshua. You know, BBC did a very forensic investigations according to them, and they threw the video out there. A lot of people have been talking. There have been misreaction between the lovers of the synagogue and that of the atheists and other Christians entirely. Some are defending while some are engaged. So we're going to be giving you a Rise TV analysis. So at the end of the day, we'll be right back to do a CGC to the video.
The pastor, who died on June 5th, 2021, was said to have secretly committed several times a week for nearly 20 years. According to the BBC, the documentary was completed after a 2-year investigation in collaboration with international media platform Open Democracy, and involved more than 15 BBC journalists to uncover the harrowing stories. The 3-part documentary, which was released on January 8th, has since gone viral.
He worked to build this massive structure. TB Joshua was trying to create his own empire. Behind the scenes, you've got a workforce with no pay. We were a machine around him. People, he'd give them rice, he'd give them food. There was like this massive show of generosity. His shield was his message. This mass outworking of charity to cover who he really was.
I stared myself in the mirror a lot of the times, and maybe I do look like him, maybe. For as long as I can remember, I have been raised as TB Joshua's daughter.
Ajoke grew inside the synagogue, like an outcast.
Right, I was up all night watching this documentary, 3 hours long, very, very detailed. But you know, this will obviously raise a lot of eyebrows because it came out after his death. That last footage there was in 2014 when the guest house collapsed. I believe over 100 people died, and most of them were foreigners. And that lady is still talking about compensation at this point. But let me take some tweets. Or one tweet. This is from Salt of Life, who wrote, "Whether TB Joshua is guilty of the things he's being accused of or not, every African should question why the BBC would do a documentary on an African pastor, yet not do the same for a European-American billionaire who had a whole island as a hunting ground for pedophiles. We are yet to even see or hear a documentary about the alleged atrocities of the royal family as alleged by the late Princess Diana. Why should the BBC write or narrate African stories?" I mean, I believe this was BBC Africa. That's a response to SALT. This is an African part of the BBC that did this detailed investigation. But also what got me was the fact I'm very sensitive about these types of things. And these women came out talking about the fact that they lived with him for years, some 12, some 14, 15 years, and they witnessed this sort of, abuse. And you saw his alleged daughter, her name is Ajoke, and she talked about the fact that she was also abused in that church for years. At this point, we are not sure, whether or not the family, the current family, have adopted Ajoke. I'm sure that, that's not even on the radar, because the church has also not responded to the BBC. They have I mean, the church leader is the wife of TB Joshua at this point, have not responded to the documentary because they say this is not a new allegation. This has been going on for years. And TB Joshua's style is not to respond to accusations. Ayo.
All right. So I also started watching the documentary yesterday. I couldn't finish. I hope to do so. There's so many angles, Oji, and it's very disheartening when you hear the stories of people, real people who were interviewed, not masked, people who were willing to come out. I'll address a few things. The first is around whether the BBC had legitimacy or the right to investigate because, it's an African issue. I think it's an indictment on our own investigative journalism, if we say that, because we ought to agree, yes, we tell our own stories, but I don't think it takes away the import of what they have revealed. And if they decide to take, when they did sex for marks, we didn't say it wasn't their business. When it changed legislature in the universities, we didn't say it was their business. So I know that when it comes to religion, it's very sensitive. However, we must come to a place where we are honest with ourselves. And I will always proudly say that I'm a member of the constituency of the church because I'm a Christian. So this is very sad for me to watch it play out. Let me say, I'm not judging because this is an investigative piece. However, the first thing I would say is this. Prophet TB Joshua is not the first Christian to have for allegations to come out after his death. There was a famous preacher called Ravi Zacharias who died in 2020, and following his death, there were allegations of sexual misconduct by some women. What the church did was that they investigated. So they didn't just throw it away and say, we're not going to respond to this.
Is the issue.
They investigated and they found that it was actually true. And so what they did was that they apologized to these women, and then they took out his name out of certain things, and there was some form of, repentance.
Yes.
The Christian faith is about repentance. When you find out something is wrong, no one is above mistake. There's no superhuman being on this earth. And so the take from what I've heard, I'm not very impressed by that they're just discounting people's experiences without any form of investigation. And the fact that this is not the first time it's coming up.
Absolutely not.
Similar to, you should read the Ravi Zacharias story. Exactly the same thing. There were allegations, but the church had quietened it down and not investigated. But they were pressured to do so after his death when even more allegations came out and lawyers were defending these women. So I believe that rather than the church coming out and saying, it's just an attack on his integrity, I think it's quite irresponsible to do that. I believe that the next line of action, in the spirit of protecting, I said it earlier when I was speaking, no human life is more important than another human life. If there are allegations of misconduct, investigate. And even for the sake of the future and for legacy's sake, come out and say that we investigated thoroughly and we found him not guilty, innocent, and these people are lying. Then we can rest assured. So I don't think it's okay to just bury it and say, let's leave it. That's one. Then the final point I'll make is this. When you read about this, sexual misconduct in the church is not new. It's happened over the years, whether in the Catholic Church, whether in Pentecostalism, in many churches. Unfortunately, what is done is that it's buried. There are a lot of cult systems that are operating as churches. Let me put it that way. There are cults that operate as churches. And we need to uncover this, not just because of its impugning on the integrity of the church, but also the innocent lives that are being destroyed on a daily basis by this. Jesus came to this world to die for everybody, not more for the pastor than the congregation. So we should protect the lives of young people, men, women, boys, girls, if we really love God, as we say. So I don't stand for burying, things like this. I think it should be investigated. They should be apologized to, and if possible, the church should build a system where we can prevent such cults from operating. If it does exist, I mean, it does exist. I'm not saying this one until investigation is completed.
I totally agree with you, Ayo, and I think that you hit the right notes here. I mean, they are claiming that, previous claims that have been, circulating have been unfounded. But we will say that TB Joshua has passed. And, maybe they want to continue with his legacy of, not addressing issues, whether or not they have addressed issues in the past. Like Ayo has said, I think that it is important that they reach out to these women, even Ajoke, all of these people that have come out now to, expose their pain to the world so that, there's some sort of closure. Rufai, really quickly.
First, this is a very sad one. And my heart goes out to all of those that told their story. I would also say we have to have an independent investigation.
Right.
And this might not even be led by the church. If the church wants to have accountability, it should lead it. But this might not be led by the church. Government should be involved in this. Because there were many crimes that were committed that also had to do with the government of the day. If my memory serves me right, when that building collapsed in 2014, President Goodluck Jonathan was there.
He visited, correct.
He visited. What was the end result of the investigation of that building collapse?
Well, they said that the building lacked integrity.
It lacked integrity. What were the penalties put in place? That's why I say there needs to be holistic. But in all fairness, kudos to the BBC. And for the person that sent a tweet, yes, the BBC has a right to do investigation. And let's not be cheeky. They have done investigation and reports on the likes of Epstein, even the royal family. If not for a panoramic documentary, we will not see all the fractures in the royal documentary. So, because you have your own personal vendetta against the BBC, do not slam them. I have, when they go wrong, I say it.
Yes,
but,
you do.
And please do not indict the Nigerian media. I take strong exceptions to that. Do you know the first time I heard of the name TB Joshua? Was in 1996. Through a very investigative journalist called Kolawole Olawuyi. Nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ mẹ́wàá ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ń dún níyàn. And you Obama look up,
wow, your Yoruba is
anybody
so sweet. Rufai,
Kola Olawi used to have a program on Radio Nigeria on AM in Ibadan, Saturday morning. He did it on OGBC2 FM stereo Friday, Saturday morning in Ibadan. And as of 1996, he did an in-depth investigative report, making most of these allegations out about TB Joshua. Kola Olawi was Nigerian, God bless his soul. He had done reports, and there have been many reports out like this. What you will just say is, yes, because of the BBC stature, because they have more influence capital than the likes of Kolawole Olawi, they were independent journalists, they got it out there. But what is most important is an indictment of us in society that for all these years, we did not have an independent investigation to be able to verify the veracity of all of this story being told. And that's what the church should subject themselves to now, to be able to get all the parts. I mean, we've had people that, like Ayo stated the case of a pastor, that after their death, they were found guilty, and the church made amendment. So, and that's why I go back to this word. Touch not my anointed does not mean the anointed must be stupid. Touch not my anointed means the anointed too must be accountable to God and be responsible.
Right.
Because we are so quick to say in Christendom, touch not my anointed, don't speak evil of a man of God. Cases must be investigated, but men of God too must be careful. The people kept under their flock is for them to love and upgrade their lives. We must not hear things like this of man pick. And for pastors that are doing this, because it's not today, we've had pastors with various spectral scandal here and there. Please stop it. You cannot say you serve God and you have a vice and you cannot deal with it. May God help all of us, because we are working towards perfection. Nobody is perfect.
All right.
But this can be independently investigated.
Very well said, Boom.
I kind of understand what Rufai Oseni said and that of Ojiokbe and Adesua. But in none of this, the only thing I'm going to point out is that while is it now that after TB Joshua died, we are talking about 3 years ago, they died 2021, 2022, 2023, and we are in 2024. They just released the video January 8th, and the whole place is going agog. Why would these people did not come out in the early stage, at least before his death, so that he can be held accountable if really is guilty? Now that TB Joshua is dead, they are coming out with this kind of video. So to what end? Who do they want to be held accountable? Is it his wife or his disciples? Or they want them to close the church? Fortunately, you already know that there is nothing even the government agency can do. The only thing they can get out of this thing is apology. Like maybe the wife will just come out, if truly my husband did this, I will say sorry. We, the entire church, is not aware of this. My own personal point of view about all this thing is that, first, let's imagine on our own head that these things they are saying is true. Why is it that if I committed such a crime as a notable man in the society, a well-respectable man of God for that matter, and at the end of the day, he allowed them to go scot-free? These women did not say maybe after a death that was when they got free. They said actually, if you listen to the full videos from the BBC, one said he escorted them to the gate, he left them out and all that. So if I committed such a crime, don't you think there is a way of me not even allowing these kind of people to go out by silencing them? Because I know definitely they will open up. Or maybe you just believe that, okay, I have the power, I have the capacity, I have the influence. Even if they go out there to speak, nobody will believe them. I can silence the media. I don't really know. I'm not trying to take side in none of this. I've been trying to be like, okay, putting myself in a wise man's shoe. Why would he commit such a crime and at the same time let these people go scot-free? I thank God that none of them said that he is using human being for sacrifice. They're just saying that he molested them, he committed some certain atrocity that a man with his characters shouldn't do. Though there are a lot of videos out there also pointing fingers towards the churches that are saying, oh, these are what some great men of God are doing behind the pulpit. I don't really understand that TV Joshua, of a psychological person like that, okay, living in the same church with his family. We're talking about his wife, his children, and those disciples. That we have a sacred room that, to some extent, these people will not be allowed to go inside or anything. And TV Joshua is really molesting them. Why they can't just speak out into the congregation during the time maybe they are doing their testimony, or just run out and say, please save me on TV Joshua? You know, those kind of confession that will create sin or draw people attention. These are white women, these are people from foreign countries, and they said TV Joshua hold them hostage. What do you guys think about all these things? That is what I'm going to be asking, because I can't just give a 2 cents and also conclude. I need your opinion in the comment section. I know a lot of you have watched a lot of videos. Videos like this discourage people from going to church or even believing on men of God. So I will say at the end of the day, they say salvation is personal. Do not rely your faith on anybody, because even if it is true TV Joshua did this, does not mean there are no real men of God. I know people will always use it as an opportunity to say, hey, this is why I don't like to go to church. This is why I don't want to associate myself with Christian. Christianity and the body of Christ have dragged through the mud over the years. You can never say anything like this, tarnishing the image of the Muslims or imams or anything. It's always about Christ, 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 right from the Genesis to this very moment, and lots are still coming. Even Christ said it, that definitely they will persecute all of us the way they persecute him. Never in the beginning of Christ that they accepted him. But we thank God, along the line, we all will triumph. But remember, don't lie your faith on any video you see out there. Even if it is true, that is for them. But your own focus should be your salvation, because at the end of the day, it's going to be personal. But we start with Stanley. I also want to hear from every one of you in the comment section. Let's rub mind together. If there is any other updates regarding to this video, I'll also come out here to give you guys the latest gist. All right, until we meet again, stay tuned with Plan B TV. Peace out.
Everybody make you wake up to Plan B TV. I'll give you the news I see the hot up. Subscribe and give them thumbs up. Now they go give you the updates. They are the new blocks in the town. Now they go give you the gist though. Now they go give you all the news, cause it's kind of weather you need all the fun. Oh, I said now who they is on a Plan B TV. Plan B TV. I said now who they is on a Plan B TV. Plan B TV. I said now who they is on a Plan B TV. Plan B TV. Plan B TV. Plan B TV. Plan B TV.